Sure.
Okay. Okay. So today is Monday, August 4th, 2025, and I'm calling to order the Middleton School Committee meeting. It is 5:30 p.m. and this meeting is recorded.
Rise for the pledge.
And then if we can just rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any remarks from the public? They would have signed up, right?
Yes, they would have signed up.
We have nobody signed up?
No. they did not.
Okay. So no remarks from the public. Moving on. Approval of previous minutes, and in the drive there are two sets of minutes. June 2nd and June 26th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, thank you. So that is for the June 2nd one. So the next one is the 26th.
Make a motion to approve the June 26th meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay.
I'm
thank
going to
you.
abstain because I was absent.
Okay. Thank you. So, moving on, reports from other committees. As far as CPAC goes, I have nothing to report, but any other committees?
I think we could talk maybe briefly about Michelle and Jackie and I. We appreciate Costa being here tonight. We started our liaison meetings with our FinCom rep, and our select board rep is Richard. Is it DiGregorio? Richard DiGregorio. Say again? Gregory. Thank you. And so we've started those conversations. We think those are important conversations to have as we engage in budget conversations early and often with our boards and committees across the town of Middleton. And so, as I said, Costa serves as select board rep, Richard is the FinCom rep, and Michelle and Jackie are our school committee reps. And just really starting to lay down ideas and understandings and communication early with our boards and partners. And I think initially we're hearing about a 2.5% guideline as a potential guideline coming out of the gate. Steve will talk a little bit about FY27, really like 30,000 foot level view of what that will all look like. But these will be meetings that will take place and really all throughout the school year. We had one scheduled for this week. We had a few scheduling things that we had to navigate, so we pushed that out to August 20th. But the goal is to maintain consistent communication with our boards and committees. And I don't know if Michelle or Jackie have anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think when it comes down to with the budget for next year is what is insurance going to come in at, and making sure that we give ourselves, put in a big number.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I hope it's not that bad, but
Yeah.
plan for it for sure.
Yeah.
And I had just told you when we spoke that I think I went into the meeting a little more maybe worried or nervous, but I really came out really grateful that we had the opportunity to sit down and start planning so early.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I'm happy to be part of it, and to, I don't know, just to have the information ahead of time will be great.
So we'll keep this committee updated as we meet with the liaisons from all of our boards and committees.
Okay. Any other committees? Reports from the superintendent.
Great. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Good to see you all. Nice to see everybody. I know it's been a little bit of time since we all got back together, back in the June timeframe. So nice to see everybody for the summer meeting. I want to make sure I welcome and congratulate Mike Druin officially at our school committee. Mike will be our new principal at Fuller Meadow Elementary School. Mike has served at Howe Manning as the AP for many years, and we're happy to see him jump into the principal seat. So congratulations and welcome to Mike. And we also congratulate and welcome Kevin as well. Kevin Husson, longtime 3-decade teacher at Howe Manning Elementary School here in Middleton. And when we put the search out for the AP job, Kevin raised his hand and said he'd be interested in going through the interview process. And he went through that process and landed on the other side as a successful candidate for that position. So we can give a little applause and welcome to both Kevin and Mike to our team. I don't know if either one of you have anything you want to say very quickly.
Just really excited to be here. Happy to get to work and looking forward to continuing our relationships and doing what's best for kids.
Thanks, Mike. Kevin?
Yeah, ditto. Just really excited to be on this side of the table for the first time in 30 years. So excited to just get going here. So
Good.
Thanks so much.
Excellent. We had our summer leadership. We do a summer leadership meeting in June. We do one in July. We do one in August. So Kevin was able to jump into the July meeting, and Mike's been with us all along as an AP, but now, as I say, coming into that principal seat. So we're looking forward to a positive year for sure in the Tri-Town schools and Middleton in particular. So welcome to them. A couple updates from me, a couple things that I will point your attention to in the drive, and then just a couple of verbal things. So the efficiency study, you may recall, I mentioned this back in June. So we did a 2-year regionalization study. And at the end of that study, it was determined across the 3 towns that everybody wanted to kind of keep things as they were. That was the feeling across when we went to the different boards and committees at the end of that study and brought all the work to everybody. Everybody kind of felt like, you know what, we like the structure that we're in. We know it's not super efficient, but we are pleased with how things are moving and would rather keep it in the union model rather than become a regional model. One of the things that became apparent in the regionalization study, and it was sort of a big part of the regionalization study, was how inefficient we are with accounts payable and with payroll and with some HR functions and with some business office operations. Working with 3 separate town halls, we can sometimes have a matter that is an equal matter across all 3 town halls, and all 3 town halls handle a little bit differently, right? And so that leads to inefficiency on our end as we're trying to operate as a Tri-Town school union. So as this committee may recall, came to the committee last year, went to Topsfield, went to Boxford, and said we'd like to look and see if we could do an efficiency study, taking all the information we gleaned from our regionalization study, have someone take a further dive into our efficiencies and inefficiencies, staying as a school union, superintendency union, not changing into a regional because that was not the will of the communities, but how do we make ourselves more efficient in that endeavor, staying within that structure. So Mary Ellen Norman was a consultant that we had vetted back in the fall and winter, and she came in on board and she did a full study for us, and she presented to the Tri-Town Union School Committee in June. And as this committee knows, that committee is comprised of 3 members of each town. So we had 3 Boxford folks, 3 Middleton folks, 3 Topsfield folks there. And she gave a PowerPoint and a presentation on that. June meeting is always a little bit tricky anyway. It's the end of the year. Everyone's head is in a million different directions as we kind of get into the closeout of the school year. And so I'm going to ask Mary Ellen to come back to the Middleton School Committee, do a presentation in the fall, to the Topsfield School Committee, do a presentation in the fall, to the Boxford School Committee, do a presentation in the fall, see if our FinCom reps and our Select Board reps want to attend that meeting to hear that presentation, a little bit about the methodology of the study, and this full study is in the drive for our school committee. The methodology of the Tri-Town Superintendency Union Efficiency Study was designed to optimize central office operations, facilitate succession planning, and safeguard institutional knowledge. A literature review, focus group conversations with employees, and an analysis of the applications utilized by the employees were reviewed for their effectiveness in enhancing the efficiency of the Tri-Town School Union's organizational structure. The research employed a benchmark of comparable superintendency unions in Massachusetts. She looked at 12 others who were set up like us, selected according to their size, organization, and utilization of financial software and business and human resources departments. The scope is confined to administrative efficiencies. The methodology design including a study of processes including HR, payroll, accounts payable, budgeting, and other services, employing a blend of data analysis and qualitative feedback from stakeholders. The efficiency plan also reviewed positions in the FTEs in the finance and HR offices, There are actions of considerations within all of these to make their roles and functions operate at maximum efficiency, with appropriate limited time to add future requirements and address seasonal fluctuations. The data collection process also incorporated succession planning considerations and qualitative feedback, and is referred to throughout the document. And basically, there are 4 sections of the document: organization and governance, developing people and culture, leveraging data and systems, and optimizing processes and methods. My request to this committee would be, in the coming weeks, and the full study is in the drive, if you could review it, read through it, review it, look at what Mary Ellen is, Norman the consultant, is addressing in her presentation and in her study. Steve and I are meeting with her either later this week or early next week to talk about presentations at the Middleton School Committee, the Topsfield School Committee, the Boxford School Committee, what potential next steps could look like, what her action steps that we think we would like to pursue to make us more efficient. We will talk about a little bit of succession planning tonight, a little bit later in the meeting, but when she talks about succession planning and make sure that the Tri-Town School Union continues to stay as a solid place where excellence is consistently pursued is a big part of the study as well. So my overall request is just, if you haven't had a chance to page through it yet, between now and the September meeting, which I think is September the 8th, if committee members could, it's in there as a PDF, or if printing it is better. We can get your printed copy, or you can print right from the drive. But just kind of page through it, so when Mary Ellen comes in, you have a better sense of some of the ideas and things that she's talking about, because we'll do the same thing in Topsfield, we'll do the same thing in Boxford, and then see what we want to pursue in terms of how do we make ourselves more efficient as a superintendency union, knowing that regionalization is not an option. Does that make sense to everybody? Great. Happy to take any questions or feedback on any of that, if anyone has any.
I look forward to having everybody else hear what she shared with us at the Tri-Town meeting.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be gained, and some little things, some bigger things, but I think it all would help move us in the right direction. Efficiency comes up every single meeting.
Yeah.
Every single thing you do. So I think that I'm excited for everybody to hear what we did.
Awesome.
Did she know that we did the regionalization study?
We gave it to her as a source document.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because she just mentions in the on page 7 in the organization and governance, the actions for consideration. I just read the last sentence: why the 3 communities might achieve consolidated educational leadership pre-K through 12 while maintaining their local identity and fiscal control. So, we kind of did that.
You want to take it, or want me to take it?
So one thing that she brings up is the word consolidation is different than regionalization. So it is an action step that, again, all 3 towns would have to be on board with, but that would look very different. Still, keeping our own independence as each 3 towns, but consolidation separate from regionalization is something that she talks about.
Okay.
Would you say more?
Yeah, no, I'm keeping it at that for now. I think it's keeping the union structure at the elementary level, keeping the regionalized structure at the middle high school level, but then maybe looking at leadership teams as it relates to all of that. Is there a way to consolidate within that?
Okay.
I think that's what she's getting at.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
It is.
Yeah. Any other questions on that?
Great. So thank you all. So we will ask, we'll check her schedule, see if she can join us on the 8th, and that would be one of our agenda items at the September meeting when we regroup in September. Costa, hold on one second. I just want to make sure we never break how we do procedure and protocol. And so it's the will of the chair. I know it's Costa and he's a friend, but we want to make sure that we always are within protocol, because we don't ever want to set up something down the road where someone can just speak from the public. If you, as the chair, want to recognize Costa right now, although we are past public comment, that is your decision to do that. But we just can't have somebody join in without you giving permission.
So I would give permission for Costa.
The concept of consolidation includes Masco. It's the 3 towns and Masco being involved. So you may want to consider inviting the Middleton Masco reps to the presentation.
Yeah, great point, Costa. Yeah, either that or a presentation at the Masco School Committee would be another, would be a potential other way to do it. That is something that, we're going to talk, we want to explore that further with Mary Ellen when we talk to her, for sure, but appreciate that feedback.
Thank you.
All right, John Guilfoyle, Public Relations. So, John Guilfoyle, Public Relations firm, is a local firm. They're here in Massachusetts. He's worked on the North Shore. He works with many school districts. They do PR, they do crisis communication, they do things along those lines. I've known John's organization for a long time. He and I have had, a number of conversations over the years where he's always tried to onboard Tri-Town under their work. And I've always said to John, we appreciate that. I've always thought it was an expensive endeavor in terms of the whole package kind of a thing. And I have been saying to John for some months now that, I wish you offered packages where it was almost like a school district could have it as an insurance policy where less PR and more crisis communication. If there was ever a crisis circumstance, a situation that we had to navigate, and we need to have somebody help with press releases, or we need to have somebody help with press conferences, or whatever the case may be. I said you might get better traction with school districts because you're a very people-oriented business, and people cost money, and I've always thought that the prices were, higher than what we would need maybe for our school district. And so he's been very open to hearing that feedback, and I've appreciated that for sure. And so he talked to his team. He sent me an email, I think it was back in maybe either late June or early July. I walked through your idea with other members of the team. Here's what I'm proposing. If your school district wanted to be a client, consider this. We called it crisis communication coverage, up to 10 full days, 80 hours of crisis support per year, to include any PR and professional services, media relations, news releases, et cetera, as it related to any type of crisis circumstance or situation. Guaranteed availability 24/7, 365. In-person response if needed. Includes critical incident pieces that if you had to mobilize FEMA or other public information offices or whatever the case may be. Additionally included in the crisis communication would be 10 tickets to any of their trainings and webinars, and they do trainings and webinars all throughout the year. This summer they did one they do a lot with municipalities and first responders. Risk communications for public health professionals. These are some of the trainings that they offer. Comprehensive guide for school administrators who wish to know more about special education. Social media principles for first responders, emergency operator centered management setup, on-camera media training for municipal employees, and so on and so forth. So they do quite a few trainings as well. And so the package that he was presenting to the Tri-Town as a brand new package, doesn't exist anywhere else, was this idea of 10 full days for the Tri-Town, 80 hours of crisis support per year, including 10 free tickets to any of their training webinars each year. And the rate, his initial rate was $7,500 per year with a 3-year commitment. But for the Tri-Town as a first-year client receiving this service, he said we would offer it to the Tri-Town at $6,000 per year, or $2,000 per district, with one focus group per year for you and your leadership team to help JGPR, John Guilford Public Relations, better tune and develop this product for other school districts. And so he's trying to build it more as like an insurance policy kind of a thing, where if we ever ran into a circumstance or a situation where we needed help with crisis communication, press coverage, press releases, press conferences and things like that, they would be a partner to us for up to 80 hours, again, across the 3 towns at the $6,000. So I wanted to present it to the committee. It's not something that would motion now, would be later in the meeting. If it is something that if it was the will of the committee to do so, it would have to be one of those things that all 3 towns would have to say either yay or nay to. But I wanted to bring it to your attention to see if it's something as a committee you have interest in, as having that sort of a service available to you if it was ever needed. And happy to take any questions that you might have, or if I don't have the answers, I can certainly seek them out as it relates to that.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So in the past, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 years, can you think of a time when this would have been utilized? Because, I mean, I think back, on the years that I've been on the committee, we got some press coverage during COVID. There was a blurb in the paper regarding contract negotiations, and I feel like we navigated all of that really well without any sort of like public relations. Is there anything else where you felt like this would have been like awesome to have?
Yeah. So no.
Okay.
To answer succinctly, I would say that I agree with you. I think we have been able to navigate those things.
Okay.
And then my second part of that sentence would be, but like any good insurance policy,
Right.
you don't know when you might get in a car accident, right?
Yeah.
And when you do get in that car accident, or when that car accident occurs, it's nice to know that there's that coverage there, kind of a thing. So I would say no. I think we have navigated. I think over the years, you know, whatever then in the chair seat and myself, anything that we've had to navigate, or any of the subcommittees that we've been on, or anything like that. I think we are an open group. We're willing to talk to people and have conversation and figure things out and problem solve. I think that's how we've always functioned.
Yeah.
So that's why I just bring it to the committee for your deliberation.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to sit here and say there's 5 things, Michelle, that I could tell you we could have used this for. I can't think of that. COVID would have been one. Obviously, that would have been the big one, but that's, you know, the rearview mirror and kind of
Yep.
hopefully a, you know, a once in a generation endeavor. But again, I had been always saying to John, like, because again, his regular packages are, you know, they're like $2,000 a month, right? Which is a lot of money,
Yeah.
obviously. And he was even saying that the level he quoted us would be offered to other districts closer to like $10,000 per year in terms of what they would be looking at. I think he's looking for a first school district to see if they'd be willing to pilot this sort of insurance policy, crisis communication coverage. And I said to him, well, you know what, I'll bring it to the committees, see what the committee's feedback is, and I will share that back with you, John, after I get through the summer school committees. And he was open to hearing that, so.
And then the other question, which you may not know the answer to, is does the town already have something like this that the school committee would fall under?
It would be lawyers typically.
Yeah.
I think it would be, they would, you know, each town has a law firm.
Okay.
We have our law firm as well that we,
Yep.
you know, we seek their counsel from. But from a crisis communication, it's a little bit different than the legal part of it. The legal part of it is going to be making sure you don't step in any of the wrong directions. But the communication part of it is making sure that you're communicating at a level that's transparent to the public and so on and so forth. So.
Okay.
You know,
What's the process now? So if a crisis were to happen, how would that come down?
Yeah, it all depends on context, Joe. If it's school-based, the principal would reach out to me and we would work together on problem solving, and we'd bring in the appropriate people. If it was something related to Matt's department, we'd bring in Matt's team. If it was something related to Brian's department at HR, we'd bring in Brian's team. If it was something related to, maybe it's an employee matter, we want to make sure we involve our union co-presidents and navigate those things along those lines, we would have our union co-presidents involved. So the way we have functioned and operated is always, we try to center the problem at the lowest level of highest competence, if that makes sense, right? Not a low level of competence, but at the lowest level of highest competence, right? So it's dealt with in where it should be dealt with. And then if it escalates and elevates, we navigate it through those processes and procedures. So if it, you know, lands on my desk, I'm in communication with folks and navigating it in that manner. So.
Okay.
I know when we spoke too about this, one thought that I had, well, you know, so situation occurs, then contact him, but he's not available.
Yeah, he
in
doesn't
that
do like the
way.
loaf of
It's-
bread.
Yes.
Yeah.
You need to kind of subscribe
Yeah.
to have access to the service. So, and
Yep.
for him, that's a good business model. But
Yeah, for sure.
anybody have any other questions right now? We can circle back around to this later in the meeting.
I just think that we have really like strong leadership here, and I think that every situation we've dealt with
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
well.
I
And I
agree.
feel, I mean, my question was the same as like, how many situations have we had to this point that we actually would need a service like that? I mean, the cost is not that much, but I think that like, because we have strong leadership, we have good communication, I think there's less of a need for it. That's my personal opinion, but
Yeah, that's great.
I think it's
feedback.
nice to have,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's kind of
I
nice
mean,
to have.
I agree with Dave. You know, my thoughts, I mean, if $2,000 it's not a lot, but we're at the beginning of the school year. We just had an override pass. Every dollar is going to be looked at. I don't want to spend money on something that's not going to directly affect or benefit the kids, especially when it's something that we may not need.
Yeah.
If it comes to the end of the year with tailings, like we can look at other things. Maybe this is something that falls in that category. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
Great.
I think too, like if he's looking to trial it, well, you could trial it for a year, but ideally, there's nothing
Right.
that comes up,
Right.
and
Right.
that's not much of a learning
Exactly.
experience.
Yeah. I think it's like a lot of things. You know, one place tries it, and then they can say, "Oh, well,
This
the
is
Tri-Town
helpful,
is
yeah,
using
yes,
it."
yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so
Absolutely.
that kind of a thing.
yeah.
But that's good feedback. Again, I wanted to make sure I brought it to your attention because he brought it to mine, and I've always sort of said thank you, but we're kind of similar. We're okay because I've always thought it was a big number and a big service, and we have been fortunate that we have been able to navigate things. But again, he was trying to build something, so I said I'll bring it to the committees and see what the feedback is, so I can share that feedback with him, for sure. Crest's amended articles of agreement in the drive. Is it in the drive? I might not have put it in there. Let me look.
The NEC one is.
Yeah, it's not in there because it's just a verbal. You had already approved the articles of agreement. This was back at our spring meeting. Crest wanted to update their articles of agreement so they could charge more for non-member cities and towns for tuition. And so we approved the language. I'm just reporting to you that DESE has also approved the language. So the Department of Ed has approved the Crest articles of agreement. One slight change, which is interesting, as you guys know, I sit on the board at NEC and Crest, are two public consortiums that we use if students have diverse learning needs that we're unable to meet their needs here in the Tri-Town or in any of our individual schools. So in Crest, one of the other changes that they made is when I vote, I've always voted as sort of Tri-Town, right? Because it was, but now they said you should vote as Topsfield, Boxford, Middleton, because we are three separate things. So it's going to be kind of silly when we get to like minutes. I'll be like, yep, Topsfield says yes, and Middleton says yes, and Boxford says yes. So the inefficiency continues into our consortiums for sure, but that's how DESE wanted it. So they changed, that was one other piece of the article agreement that they changed. And then I just wanted to take the committee through, you'll see a folder titled Revisit 2016 and 2022. If you could go to that folder, again, it's called Revisit 2016-2022. And then just double click on the PowerPoint that's in there. I just thought it was important. I'm entering my 10th year as a superintendent in the Tri-Town, and a lot of the work that we did in the first 5 years informed a lot of the work that we did in the next 5 years. And as we have new committee members and as we have new staff members come on board, I did this with the leadership team in July. We have new members of the leadership team now. We have a new principal over at Proctor and Topsfield, and Mike joining us here as a principal, though not new, but in a new role. Kevin joining us. The principals in Boxford are, been in those seats for 2-3 years or so. So we have a younger, newer team that we are building. And as we bring in new teachers, and they understand what's our vision, what are our pillars, what are our goals, why do we do what we do, I want to just make sure I rebuild the history for everybody. So I just want to very quickly take this committee through this slide deck. So if you go to that second slide, in 2016 when I got here, and this is just literally a cut and paste from my folder in my computer, there's a whole list of people that I spoke to in Boxford, and a lot of names you won't even recognize because it was going on 10 years ago now, but these are school committee members at the time, town managers at the time, police chiefs, fire chiefs, FinCom folks, Masco people, and then you see the Topsfield group that somebody just moved on us, Dan Collada, Dave Bond, the fire chief, the police chief, and then you see Masco folks, department heads that I met with, and then you see Middleton folks. You'll probably recognize some of those names. Andy Sheen, you probably remember that name, and Derek Fullerton back in the day, and Kristen Richardson was on school committee, and Mark Moreski, and so, Chief DG. So names of people, Tom Martinock, who was the fire chief back then, met with all of them and said to them, hey, I'm new here, school districts are important to these three communities. I'm doing a survey of everybody. This was back in 2016. Would love to hear your feedback. And at the same time, sent it out as well to staff, families, and we did a massive survey and data collection. If you go to slide 3, at that same time, I was pursuing my doctorate, and I was using a software program called MaxQDA, and I was like, gee, this is a great opportunity for me to use that software even further. I was using it for the data collection for my doctorate, but I'm like, let me take all the data that I collected here in the Tri-Town across the 3 towns and dump it into this software program. And you can kind of skip slides 4 and 5. It just talks about how MaxQDA worked. That was the software program in 6. And what it did was it coded all of the data that I got for me. And it produced, if you go to slide 8, which is the important slide from 2016, it developed 5 themes rather. Strengths of our district, our defining qualities that everybody wants to maintain, our growth opportunities, the challenges in the future, and then let's dream big and what do we hope for our kids. And then the occurrences of the number of times that these things came up the most within each of these categories. And you can see back in 16, the strengths were our safe and supportive environment, our staff, the high expectations, class size, the defining qualities you can see there, our growth opportunities, our future challenges, we're keeping up with technology, working with all students, the budget, personalized learning, and then dream big, you can see what that list looked like there. And that led to, on slide 9, that was our roadmap. And we said, let's let's do a roadmap to 2028. And the reason we picked 2028 was because when I got here in 16, those kids that would be graduating in 2028 were just in K and 1. And we said, let's kind of lay down, what is our hope? Obviously, we only were able to contribute to half of their educational journey because then they go on to Masco. But during that time frame on this road to 2028, we want to make sure we develop innovative, global, and collaborative learners, leaders, thinkers with core knowledge, competency, skills, and dispositions. And these are the sort of the mile markers along the way in order to get there. So if you go to slide 10, in 2022, we did the same thing all over again. Because what's unique about our school district is that in a K to 12, you'll have a family for 12, 13 years because it's K all the way through 12. In the Tri-Town, we have a family for 6, 7 years. They come in K1, they're gone in by grade 6, and then they go off to Masco. So in 2022, when I got here, the K1 kids were already 6th grade going into 7th grade, so we had a whole new generation of families. And so as you can see there, that little note from 2022, I hope this communication finds you well. Now entering my 7th year, it was about 6 years ago that I surveyed our 3 communities to learn more about the successes and challenges. This feedback led to the development of a vision and a strategic focus. As you know, what's unique about the school district, which is what I just said to you, therefore, below is a very brief survey, and so we did the whole thing over again in 2022. Staff, families, community members, so on and so forth. On slide 11, you can see that the same themes still existed. What are our strengths? What are our defining qualities? Our growth, our future, and our dream. But the sub-themes altered a little bit. You can see like divisiveness showing up. I think that was coming out of, you were a couple of years away from COVID at that point, and there was, some of the political components of all of that. Dream big, a couple of things changed. Growth opportunities, and so on slide 12 is a side-by-side, the 16 versus the 22. And you can see what people identified as our strengths, as our defining qualities, as the growth opportunities for us, as the future challenges, and as the dream big for us. So to take it a little bit further, if you go to slide 13, I kind of just gave you a full view of, here were the strengths, here were some quotes. These were direct quotes from people who responded to the survey about our school staff, about communication, about all of our learners, and about our academic program, and about our community. If you go to slide 14, these were direct quotes from the survey about our defining qualities: school staff, teacher accessibility, kindness and professionalism, learning environment, dynamic with creative interventions when typical ones don't work. Slide 15, people talking about our growth opportunities, continuing to have an integrated curriculum and more robust after-school groups, and communication, embracing our multilingual families by ensuring our weekly newsletters are translated. And so a lot of the stuff that came from this has really helped us, guide us. Our website is translatable now, all the work that we do with our EL families. Future challenges, well-being, instructional program, budget. As the town expands, so will population and class size, divisiveness, politics and people's agendas when school should be about academics. That was identified as a future challenge. And again, this was all feedback from the community. And then dream big. Some of the things, Dave, you and I have talked about financial savings and checkbooks and stock markets and real world experiences and so on and so forth. And again, all of this, if you go to slide 18, fed into our vision, our pillars, our innovative teaching, the social emotional learning, the inclusionary practices that we engage in. And so our goals have been and continue to be to create a dynamic learning environment on slide 19 that cultivates creativity, problem solving, and innovation for our students. That was around innovative teaching practice on slide 20. Our goal on social emotional learning is develop and strengthen student self-management, social awareness, self-efficacy, and growth mindset to be successful. Make sure that they are have an ability to know that they can do the work and have a positive view of how they function in the world. And then a culture of inclusivity, recognize, respect, and welcome the individuality of students and staff and embrace new ideas and thinking. And so that's how our pillars came to be. And on slide 22, and you heard me say this last year, what was kind of exciting was DESE came out with their vision and their pillars, and it matched ours, which was kind of cool to see that happen. This was years later. This was just maybe a year or two ago. Their vision and their pillars are all new students are known and valued, learning experiences are relevant, real world, and individual supports enable students to excel at grade level. And so that last slide, it's just crazy to think about, but when we did it in 16, we were talking about the road to 28, if you go to slide 23. Now, once we get to 28, believe it or not, we talk about 2040, which is completely nuts. I mean, that just sounds like the Jetsons to me when we talk about 2040. But in 16, 12 years later was 28, 28, 12 years later will be 40. And so we would do this all over again because we'll cycle through the families that we gathered this data from in 2022. They're halfway through their journey in the Tri-Town. And so in 28, it'll be time to do the thing all over again. We'll have a whole new generation of families. We'll survey everybody again and see if that continues to reinforce the work that we've done, or if people want to head in a different direction. But I just want to make sure I built the history. Again, I've been really thinking about entering my 10th year, which I don't know where that time has gone. And we've had a lot of new people come in, whether it be staff members, families, kids, school committee members, boards and committees, and just kind of making sure everybody know from whence we came, if that'll make sense. So happy to take any questions on that from anybody, or if it makes sense, we can leave it there.
Thank you.
What do you think, what's the biggest change in these topics, you think, over
On these topics in particular, I think they stayed relatively consistent, Dave.
Right.
I think to me that was very reinforcing that when we did it in 22 with a whole new set of families, right? And again, you would have some similar families still, because if you had a sixth grader at the time and a kindergartner, the kid might have been, whatever the case may be. But I was impressed with, in 16 and 22, how consistent the three towns were in terms of, like, look at class size is important. We got to make sure we watch the budget. We want to make sure we continue the great programs that we have. We have amazing teachers. Let's make sure we keep them and hold on to them, and so on and so forth. So it's been remarkably consistent. It really has.
good to know the goals you're looking to achieve?
Say again?
It's good to keep those goals, like,
Totally.
to achieve.
Yeah, those are our pillars, and they've held strong. And again, the fact that Desi is heading in our direction made me feel like, oh, that's pretty good,
Good.
So, good. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then next to report of the Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Greenberg.
Good evening, everyone. What's included in the drive is the preliminary financial report and closeout for FY25. And so we're at our last stage. We'll be submitting our journal entries to Town Hall and then a final reconciliation to make sure everything's set. So that's why this is preliminary. Everything's subject to change. But the information's here in front of you, and some things that we'll stress. We spent everything. All right. So when you look at it's not just the general fund. So you see on these numbers we turn back like $2,000, just because as we're doing transfers we round it up to keep it simple. But just keep in mind that in doing so we've not depleted, but reduced our balances for our revolving accounts, preschool revolving. Food service we have to spend down, and circuit breaker, other things. But these are things we need to keep in mind as we go into 26. So 26 is going to be very close. And so it is possible that we would look at a spending freeze, and I want everyone to know it. I'm not saying we're going to do it, but we're going to be watching it. All right, so it's just we're being cautious for 26, and we're also in preparation for 27. Okay, so all the numbers are here in terms of all the funds right now, and the layers of detail for the general fund and the 9 cost categories, and then line by line. Okay, so I will stop with this financial report and answer any questions the committee may have. Of course, I'm sure questions will come up later beyond this meeting, and more than happy to answer them. But I will say all the offsets were taken. Mm-hmm. There's no wiggle room here. Usually we have some flexibility, things break our way. We spent everything. Questions? All
I
right.
don't have anything.
No? Okay. Next thing will be, let me just look at this real quick, the FY27 preview. So you'll see in the drive I have a quick 2-slide presentation.
It's called Middleton Proposed FY27 Budget Preview.
All right. Just going to walk you through this real quick. And as we are already underway with the FY27 budget process in my office, but I just want to go through these bullets and start planting seeds for everybody and start fostering that conversation. So we've had one meeting with the Select Board and Finance Committee liaison. We plan to have a second. That was, as you know, we rescheduled, and we will have that second one shortly and continue those discussions. The goal for 27 will be to not have an override. That's the goal. Goal will be to have a budget drafted in the late fall. That'll be about 95% complete. And the reason why 95% complete, apportionment won't be ready for central office, special ed is still a moving target. We have notifications that go out to all Unit A members in terms of placement. So where we will know steps, we won't know column movement. So that's where we'll be waiting till late November, December before we know column movement. All right. And so again, the goal, based on using ClearGov and engaging the personnel module, the goal will be to have a 90-95% draft to you in the late fall. Okay. Things that we know are obligations that are coming. You know, we have known contractual obligations. FY25 actuals, you know, as far as when we build our non-salary budget lines, one of the ways we're looking at this will be to look at FY25 actuals and add a COLA to it, or not a COLA, but, you know, an inflation factor to it. So that would be about 2.5%. If we know actuals or we know what the things are going to be, we would budget that way. It's another way of doing the non-salary budget lines, and that means we'd be phasing out the appendices. Okay? So instead of saying this is how many pencils we're looking at, it would be a calculation. And so that, of course, is open to discussion and recommendation and guidance from the school committee, but this is a strategy for all three that we're looking at across the board to try to develop a tighter budget. If other areas, we'd be looking at level funding or reducing if possible. And we've already talked about phasing out the appendices. When we go to the next slide, the second slide, when we talk about a potential, and I want to stress potential, 2.5% guideline, that's about $418,000. All right, we will need to wait and see where the Select Board, Finance Committee, Town Administration, where they land, and then give us feedback from there. Budget drivers, of course, will be salaries. Health insurance, we're going to be planning year 2 and a 20% premium increase. Transportation's a contractual obligation, that's regular day transportation, that's about 5%. Areas that we will be watching will be applied income from our revolving accounts. We'll be watching circuit breaker with the potential that we'll see an increase in circuit breaker, but also a drop off in special ed tuition. That is always subject to change. All of these things subject to change. It is always a moving target, and I can't stress that enough. And then hopefully we will realize savings in special ed tuitions, but subject to change. All right, we've had preliminary discussions about that. To be determined. All right, but these are the things that we're watching as we develop the budget, and I will answer any questions the committee may have.
I am looking forward to starting this conversation earlier. I think that's going to be very helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be a totally different process.
Yeah.
You know, that when we come to you and we start doing it, it's not going to be like the Saturday meeting. You know, I'm sure the superintendent will have a strategy in how we present for the committee to maximize effective deliberation, but it is going to be a much different process than what we've had in the past.
I just had a question on the health insurance premium increase. Do you anticipate that type of increase annually every year?
For not, it's gonna. This will be, and I base this on a conversation that we had with the Maya consultant, and the conversation was when we were doing the Boxford Health Insurance in Middleton, Boxford, we're all in Maya. And he was explaining why, and I won't get into the complexities of why. There's a lot of little pieces to it. Very interesting, but definitely I don't think you guys want to hear. So, yes, we're expecting 3 years of pain.
3 years.
Yeah, so this would be year 2 of 3. You know, and we can talk offline or at another meeting as to the variables that he explained to me, and I'm more than happy to share them with you.
I was just looking at the time frame. You said like 3 years. Like, I know that was a huge factor last year of the budget. I just didn't know, like, is that going to be every year? Like,
So
next
now
time?
it's just going to be, you know, that's just right out in front.
Yeah.
We're just hitting at 20, and hopefully we don't get hit with a curveball like 25 or something, you know, you know, as that becomes crystallized. Other questions, feedback?
So we'll continue to, as Michelle and Jackie have said, continue to share the information we're getting from our liaison meetings, have this conversation early enough, and as Steve talked about, it'll be a goal not to have an override, and that will certainly be something we have to watch and monitor month by month as we plan and build out the budget, but certainly a goal that we're going to try to pursue.
And last, Madam Chair, the last part of my report is the audit for the FY24 end-of-year report.
Yes.
So that seems, it came to us late. All right, so they finished it late, and so it is in the drive for everybody to review. And just as a refresher, the end-of-year report is a report we have to submit to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and we have to demonstrate how we've spent every dollar from all of our funds, not just the operating budget, but our grants, revolving accounts, warrant articles, not just the funds that are under the charge of the school committee, but any school-related expenses that the town incurs. Those are also factored in. And so then when that report is submitted to the state, we give it to auditors for an independent audit. They go through, and DESI asks for certain things to be checked on top of the accuracy, and then a report is issued to us and then sent to the state. And so I gauge the success of our audits based upon how many pages they are or how thick it is. So when we only have like 2 or 3 pages, I take it as a win. So the information is there for you to review. We have a couple of things that they tested that we should improve, but overall I'm very, very happy with the report.
What were the things that they said we could improve on?
Well, what it is one thing, like they tested our, Schedule 4 and 7, and there are some things that we had miscategorized in those schedules. And so I think that's a repeat issue. So we'll go back and I'll sit down with the person that I work on that area of the report with and see how we'll go over that specific piece and how we should categorize those things. I think I also had a variance on one of the things that were reported had to do with, I think, regional, the total regional amount. And I'm like, I don't know why that's the case, but, you know, I'll work that out. And I think those are the 2 off the top of my head, but you'll see the comments, you know, and it's not like you get some, oh, you guys did a great job. It's like, yes, they were in compliance. No, they weren't, or we observed this.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my report, Madam Chair, unless there's any questions.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, did you have a question?
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay, okay, moving on to reports from the principals. Who would like to go first?
You want to go first? Why?
I'll go first.
All right. Prep this here.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us here today. Fuller Meadow is looking good. The hallways are full of a lot of stuff at the moment, but the classrooms are nice and clean, and the custodians are working really hard. I think we're ahead of schedule, and we'll be ready for the students to come the end of the month here. Enrollment has gone up a little bit. I think in the last 10 days, we've gone from 225 students to 234. So we have 64K, 78 grade 1, and 92 currently in 2nd grade. We have a brand new 2nd grade teacher, a brand new grade 1 long-term sub teacher. We have a new school psychologist. We have a new Artivation specialist. And we have an IA that transferred from Howell Manning that wants to work with their primary age students. And currently I have a .7 special ed / evaluator position open and a building-based substitute position open. So I think hiring's going pretty well as well.
All 3 towns have been impressed. The hiring class this year has been tremendous. We're seeing a bounce back to what we saw years ago. It got a little lean for a little while, but now, I mean, you post a 2nd grade position, you're getting 50, 60 applications, which is how it used to be. But in all 3 towns, Jeff sent a candidate over, principal at Stewart sent a candidate over, and principal at Cole sent a candidate over. a B1. A B1 is, if you think the columns, right? So B is bachelor's, 1 is first year ever teaching. So these are like the 21-year-olds, right? 22-year-olds. 3 B1s have come through because I meet everybody. I always ask everybody to send everybody to me for a final interview, whether it's a custodial position or a third grade teaching position or whatever. I want to make sure I meet everyone who comes into the organization. And the 3 B1s, I've been impressed with everybody, but to see a B1 come through is a rare thing. You don't usually see B1s come through. Bachelor's degree, just got their teaching license, and it's there. They're 21, 22 years old, and extraordinarily impressed with the maturity level, the enthusiasm, the excitement to come into the Tri-Town and be a part of what we're trying to accomplish. So it's rare to see 3 B1s in 1 year, and we've had one across each town, and it's been a really good hiring.
Absolutely. As Scott said, the numbers of applicants have been really high, and it's difficult to narrow it down and choose. But what I look for is, when everything else is equal, is that it factor, which you really can't really measure. But I feel that everyone that we've hired has that it factor when it comes to students and working with children. So really, really excited for this year.
Awesome.
Thanks.
I got some updates here from Jeff. I was in the building myself just last week cleaning out my classroom, and very impressed. I was there. It was a Friday at 3:30, and those custodians, they were just cranking out rooms and just cleaning and buffing and sweep. I'm just really impressed with how hard they're working to get the school ready, and summer school's kind of in their way, I think, right now too. So it's not easy for them. But school's looking great. Couple updates from Jeff. We have hired a new music and art teacher, new assistant principal, as he writes here. Still looking for a behavior specialist and a new 4th grade teacher, which that just was posted today. So looking for a new 4th grade teacher. We have 5 new transfer students. Won't affect class size as they're spread throughout the grades. He's going to plan a new building tour, a tour in August for all the new students. Terry will reach out to families, and he also writes that Howie is bored and can't wait for school to start. So that's the update from Hal Manning.
Thank you, Kevin.
Have you seen any changes in the ELL population of the students?
In terms of new students registering,
Yeah, or
probably more of a full meta question than or Matt.
Yeah, none of the new students that I can recall are EL.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt, anything from your end?
Yeah, no, it would come through, so it's identified through home language surveys that we do at registration time. So it would get flagged like now if a new student registers, and then
Yep.
we would test them right off the bat in the fall. So if they're not seeing it come through on the home language survey, then we wouldn't be seeing an increase yet.
Okay.
I'll keep you updated on that one a lot this year.
Okay.
Because I know it was a situation where we talked a lot about the increase and then
Yep.
the new staffing and stuff. So we'll stay on top of that one.
Okay.
Strong, you said, is it 9 students that just signed up? Was it 9 from the new enrollments?
Yeah, in the last 10 days.
Because we were low,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We were
Yeah,
low, and
we were-
9 came
we're
in,
the
right?
50s.
And we've had a trickle of students that have left.
Yeah.
But last week was a pretty big week for getting new students.
Right.
Yeah. And yes, our class sizes are pretty low as well to begin
Yeah.
with, so, and they're still really low.
Hallmark of the Middleton schools for sure.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
that's-
Yep.
And Mike, you said the number that you landed at was 234?
Yes,
And 64 of them are in kindergarten.
yes.
Okay. All right.
Up from 60 a
Yeah.
little while ago, yeah. And I think that was even lower than that 3 weeks ago.
Right. Yeah. It's slowly getting up. I think the projection was like 71 or
I can
75.
go
Yes,
look.
I think you're
Yeah.
right,
I can take a peek. And Matt and Brian and I are going to do just a pre-K. We continue to have a lot of interest in our pre-K, in our public pre-K, across all 3 towns. And the programs have grown in various capacities across the 3 towns. Not evenly, and by not evenly, I don't mean necessarily population-wise, I mean programmatically, right? It's been a little bit different. And so we've been talking about, it could be a potential other revenue source for us to consider as we think about, budgets continuing to be lean and so on and so forth. I think our preschool rates are extraordinarily competitive. I think that's probably one of the reasons why people are interested. But it's also a tremendous program to be able to get into our school districts at 3 and 4, because now you've already got some familiarity with the people that you'll be working with and so on and so forth. So Matt and Brian and I are going to meet next Monday and kind of do a little pre-K summit, just the 3 of us, and really kind of put it all like, here's what Topsfields looks like, here's what Middleton's look like, here's what Boxford looks like, what are the similarities, what are the differences, what's working well here, what's something we could change? What's the tuition here? What's the after-school program look like here? And come back to the 3 committees this year with an update on pre-K, and if you want to add that on.
Yeah, and that will be no easy task.
No,
because
it's-
as they've grown and expanded, as Scott said, it's just gone in different ways based on the needs of that individual district. So philosophically and instructionally, we are very aligned across the 3 towns. Offering-wise, we're actually very different. It's one of the things that we are very different in our offerings. Now, that being said, and I'll say this all the time, public school preschool exists for special education purposes at its heart, right? It's so that we can start servicing students if they have needs, we can start servicing them on their 3rd birthday. So that's why public preschool exists, and it becomes an inclusive and integrated preschool because we have offerings for students who are not on IEPs, and that part is what has kind of grown in different directions. So when I say our offerings, our instruction and philosophy is aligned, that's kind of our instructional methods, our trainings, all of that. But the needs of kind of meeting the other students in the 3 towns has just kind of gone off in different directions, whether it be offering a morning program and then an afternoon program, or a full day program, or 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week. And, we also have very different spaces in all of our towns, and that has proven to be very difficult. For example, Boxford, we have 2 classrooms, Middleton, we have 3, Topsfield, we have 4, right? So just that alone, the space, makes what we're able to offer different. So I think it's a great task for us to kind of just sit down and put everything on the board and say, this is where we're at.
Your dream is a tri-town.
Yeah, I mean, for
PK.
years, I've really thought about centralizing the preschool across the tri-town. A lot of districts do have a centralized preschool program. It's incredibly beneficial on the special ed side of things, and it's incredibly beneficial on the non-special ed side of things. You get staff, that are solely focused on that level of student, age group, developmental age group. You can really utilize staff much more efficiently. You can have situations where your evaluation process includes kind of like an arena eval, where the student can come in and just spend some time with other students, and the specialist can observe and see what's going on. There's a ton of benefits of it, and there's also hurdles,
Right.
obviously.
Need a building.
But yeah,
Right.
for years we've talked about how beneficial that would be. But if it doesn't get to that point, I think a big step forward is to try to look at what do we have and how can we, align it, and then have a little bit more offerings.
Is it priced correctly?
Is it priced correctly? I mean, it's that's one of the tasks, is not only just looking at what the tuition is, but you have to break it down by how many hours are offered. So sometimes the number looks very low compared to some private preschools, but that program that we're offering might only be 2 days a week for 3 hours a day, so it's
Right.
only 6 hours a week. So the total year tuition doesn't look that large, but if you break it down by hour, a lot of private preschools or private daycares have, they run from 8 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a much bigger number unless you break it down by hour. So it just takes a lot of all that work to kind of weed out what is the actual cost of the program, what are we charging for the program, and then, balance it all out.
Okay. Thank you. So all set with principal updates?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to new business, gifts and grants, and I think there's something in there.
Yeah, in the drive, if you go to gifts and grants file folder, How Manning Band had a donation of $500.
I will make a motion to accept the $500 donation from the town of Middleton. Is it from the town of Middleton?
Steve Greenberg, do you know who? That's who the check
Yeah.
came from.
That's who the check is from.
Thank you, Steve.
Yes.
Steve or Mike, do you happen to know?
Let me double check it.
Yeah.
Would it be, I want to say Mel, but let me just double check.
Text Jeff and see if he responds.
Either way, I'll make a motion to accept it.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you.
Great. Matt will take the next one if it's okay with the chair.
Yes, please.
And it's in the drive, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. So in the drive, you'll see kind of a brochure pamphlet that talks about a new program that we're offering in Topsfield, which is really a Topsfield, but it's also a tri-town program that we've developed. So, over the years, you've heard me talk about developing programming that serves the needs of all of our students that are in the district, right? And it's different levels of need and different level of offerings, whether it's our inclusive philosophy with all of our co-teaching and all of inclusion, different specialized reading support or math support or other needs in a pull-out setting, or programs that we develop for students with a higher level of need in different buildings. One of the things that is a difficult structure that we have is we are small as a tri-town and we are really tiny as a Boxford, Middleton, and Topsfield when it comes to program development for special education. What I mean by that is you develop programs based on cohorts of kids with similar needs, okay? So if a student has a certain type of need, you want to develop a program that meets that level of need, and you want to make sure that you're not having a student spend all of their time or a significant part of their time alone with an adult getting instruction, right? That's not good practice either. And so when you build a program specified for a specific type of disability, you're really looking at trying to develop for a cohort of students somewhere around like 3 or 4 students at a 2, 3, 4 students at a minimum, and it usually can grow up to about 8 or so before you have to start looking about splitting the program. So that's a difficult task to develop in our tri-town. So as we've talked about this over the years, and frankly it's not an issue, just program development is not something that just we talk about. Every district around us talks about it. The North Shore talks about it. When we start talking about even our collaboratives and then other private special education schools, you're looking at wait lists up to 6 months, right? If we have a student with a level of need that has more than we can offer and we start to look for a school, that student might have to wait 4 or 6 months before we can find a placement for them. So it's been a lot of conversation around what can we do, how can we think about this differently, and how can we approach it so that, one, we can develop cohorts of students that we can sustain a program, and 2, kind of make it available a little bit more readily and keep kids in their home district. So a couple of months ago, I reached out to Fran Rosenberg, who's the executive director of the consortium, who we're members of, and just started brainstorming with her about kind of partnering with them in a way that would allow us to develop the program in the tri-town and serve the needs of the kids that we have in the tri-town, but also leverage the consortium to have it a program that's offered to all the consortium districts. So there's 15 districts as part of the consortium, I think?
Yeah, that's about right.
13 to 15 districts. So how could we kind of leverage that we want to build a program here while also offering it to our member districts, and kind of partner with the consortium in that way. So over a lot of discussions, kind of conversations back and forth, we're excited to be able to offer that program. So we are opening a program over in Topsfield at Proctor School for students with language-based learning disabilities, more commonly called dyslexia, right? So we are opening a program at Proctor this September for students with language-based learning disabilities that will serve both the students in the tri-town, as well it is now open to any students that want to get referred from any of our members districts from the consortium. We also talked with the consortium about a lot of times they'll open their first priority will go to the consortium members, but they open up their programs if they have space to any town in the state. So we've actually done that. So we have a priority referral process for consortium members to come through us, but we've also set up a system where if you're not part of our consortium, you can also refer a student to our program. The whole thing will flow with the consortium's help, will flow through us. So the referrals will come to me. I will kind of screen them out initially to determine whether it's a possibility and the student has the learning profile that fits the program. If we do that, then we'll get much more in depth with the referral process, including the principal, the special ed coordinator of that building, the teachers. We'll do visits, there's a typical process that you do when you're looking for a placement. But I think it's an exciting new way to look at program development of being able to offer more for our students in the tri-town, and then also looking at it from a different lens to continue to build a cohort so that if we only have one student that has that type of need, that we don't have to stop offering that program, right? We can continue that program, so when other students that we have require that program, it's still in existence. So it's a way to leverage the cohorting from the consortium while building our in-house programming and offering it. So there will be a tuition associated with it. So we built it, Steve and I worked on kind of the structure of the cost of what it is to run the program, and then how many students the program can support. And so we did set a tuition structure, so any student coming to our programs will be paying a tuition as well.
Okay.
Is it going to be, so like you said, these are children that have reading, language-based disabilities, right? So
Yeah.
we're handling that here in Topsfield. Is it going to be where other towns and other consortiums have a different type of disability? Like they're going to have some other type of like learning disability
Yeah.
where they're going to,
Yep,
and
great
each
question.
town is going to be like,
Yep.
have its own.
So we currently have other programming that we've had for several years up and running in the Tri-Town. This language-based program has been something that has been difficult for us to get off the ground. And so this is allowing us to do that. But yes, as well on top of that, we're kind of looking at this as a model of if this works well, can we then expand it to the Middleton program that we already have for the same exact reasons, like keep that cohorting going, it's a tuition-based program, all of that. So we will, and what we don't do, also in response to your question, is we try not to replicate programming amongst the three, right? So if a student and the team and the parents work together and recommend a language-based self-contained program for a Middleton student, we will be looking at the Topsfield program.
Okay.
So-
Do you already have students signed up for it that aren't within the Tri-Town?
No, it just went public about a week ago.
It did, okay.
So we've been talking with the superintendents and my counterparts in the other districts that it was coming. So it's been on people's radar for about a
Okay.
month or so. But it just went real public like last week. I anticipate that. So this next month is, I'm not sure if I'll see a whole lot this next month, but I'm hopeful that in the fall, throughout the fall into the winter, that's when we'll start to see
Okay.
the referrals.
Okay.
And right now, it's just 4th and 5th grade.
Right now, it's just 4th and 5th grade. We were apprehensive about accepting 6th grade students initially from other districts because it only goes to 6th grade, right? And so that would be a tough transition, I think, for a student to come here just for one grade. But obviously, as we accept 4th and 5th graders, the second
build up
year
through
will
six, okay.
it'll become a 4 to 6. It's just a 1 year 4 to 5 in the second
Okay.
year. 4 to 6.
But it opens great conversation to, as we work with Masco, and
Yes.
if they wanted to do
Yeah.
program development, we start building some programs here that could then be continued at Masco, tuition-based. The more program development we can do across the Tri-Town, I think that would be outstanding. Kids are able to stay within our district, and we're able to be an outside placement for other places, so.
So say we get a student from another town, they'll just be coming to the Proctor School for this one service.
Well,
correct?
they'll become
Their school day would be there.
they'll become a student. Technically they will be
Oh,
an out of district student from, say, Peabody,
Okay.
and we will become the out of district placement.
Okay.
So
got
their
it.
full
they'll be
placement is with
spending
us.
their
They're there.
entire
Yes.
school year.
They become a
Okay,
Proctor
okay.
student.
Okay.
We
100%.
may send a student to NEC, right? The North Shore
Yes,
Education
okay.
Consortium. This is
Okay.
now a branded NEC program
Right.
housed at Proctor School.
Okay.
So, this is a program for you, so that child would be coming to, their school day would be spent there.
Okay.
It also filled the need for NEC because they didn't have any offerings for students
Correct.
with language-based learning disabilities. And, the pendulum on collaboratives has really swung over the years. In the, 90s, 2000s, all of the collaborative programs were housed in public schools. They weren't partnership programs like we're doing, but they were housed in public schools. That shifted in the 2010, 2011, where they really moved to purchasing either buildings or leasing buildings, and all of the collaborative programs moved into these substantially separate buildings. Everything both of those models have benefits, but one of the things that got lost when they all went to buildings was the inclusion opportunities, right? So with this type of program, they don't have a language-based program, now they do, and now we can offer a language-based program with inclusion opportunities throughout the day. So they would be, all these students will be students in that building, and they'll be doing specials and lunch and recess and activities, and if there's an assembly and all of it, you know, it'll be a typical student day
Okay.
for the students.
I'm excited. We can talk more in detail when I have my CPAC hat on.
Yeah.
You know, when we meet for that. I feel like this has been a long time coming, and I'm excited to see where it grows. And I used to work in those programs when they were so big, and then and it was such a wonderful model. It you know, if it runs well, the school will grow from it, and the students will benefit, especially from the inclusion part. So I'm excited to see.
One last question I had. Because the students are going to the Proctor School, is Topsfield going to be seeing all of the revenue from this? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Good question.
Well, hopefully we can bring it to Middleton.
Just gonna say that.
Right, that's
So the more programs
to
we can
Dave's
develop.
question. Like, I think that's where this is a pilot and a model that
Yep.
I think can be expanded amongst our tri-town.
Okay.
Is it NEC staff?
It is not. We have
It's
staff. It
Proctor.
is Topsfield
Okay.
staff.
So I'm just envisioning if it moved to Middleton, then
Yeah,
I've
that was
got my
that was
land and I
yeah
have a
that was one of the
pretty
partnership
idea.
conversations that we
Yes.
had. That as a startup, it's going to be local staff, so
Yes,
Topsfield
yes.
staff or it'll be Middleton staff, depending on how it grows.
Yeah.
It could be a situation where we share a staff member who could be a reading consultant.
Yes.
And does 3 days in our program. That we hire that person full time.
Yes.
But their responsibilities might be 3 days in Topsfield.
Yep.
And then 2 days over at Kevin O'Grady.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So there's going to be eventual benefits to staffing, but
Yep.
we are is being created out of Topsfield.
Okay.
staff. Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank
right.
you, Matt.
Next couple of items are sort of quick hit for the committee. So opening days of school, the calendar is in the drive, approved calendar, just as a reminder for everybody, as people are kind of getting their brains back around, making lunches in the morning and picking out outfits and all that fun stuff. The teachers are back August 25th, which is the Monday before Labor Day. All staff are back 25th and 26th. And then the first day for students in Middleton is Wednesday, August 27th, with kindergarten not beginning until after Labor Day. We always hold them out while we get everything kind of settled those first couple of days. So there'll be school on the 27th of August, school on the 28th of August, and it has been our calendar for the past 9 years or so. There'll be no school that Friday, and so that will be the long Labor Day weekend. And then everybody comes back on September 2, including kindergarten, and then off and running. That schedule has worked well, for sure. Feedback from everybody over the years of sort of the 2-day, 4-day start, particularly for our youngest learners. Colleen, there's a signatory page that you wanted to address. Joe did it. Thank you, Joe, for signing. And now that is all good to go. Great. Thank you, everybody, for that. Our Middleton School Committee meeting dates. There is a document in the drive titled Middleton FY26. Colleen put that together, so it's all of our dates. We will always be the first Monday of the month if it's not a holiday. September, it happens to be a holiday because the first Monday is Labor Day, so we will be September 8th, and then you can read through and see all the other dates. We landed on keeping that schedule. We landed on staying at 5:30 at our June meeting. And then Colleen tucked in the TTU meetings. Middleton has the wheel this year, as I like to say, and so Jackie is also the chair of the TTU committee. So we will roll right into TTU meetings on the 6th of October, the 1st of December, 2nd of March, and June 1st. And if you don't recall if you are on TTU or not, because I don't remember all the time either, Colleen put the org design back into the drive. And if you go to TTU committee, it's Jackie, Joe, and Bettina are the representatives to the school union committee for this upcoming school year. So those are the dates for that. And then just a couple more quick items from me for the committee. We talked a little bit about succession planning at the top of the meeting as it related to Mary Ellen Norman's report. And so I think as the worst kept secret in the Tri-Town, I think as we know, is that it's Mr. Greenberg's final year and in his role as the Assistant Superintendent of Operations for the Tri-Town School Union. I said to Brian, and I asked Brian, he did a great job with it, you know, in the real estate world, when the house isn't ready for sale yet, but there's a coming soon sign on the house. So I said to Brian, I wanted to make, so it's in the drive, I asked him to make a coming soon document. And so coming soon, Assistant Superintendent of Operations, Tri-Town Schools, and the key job functions with a QR code. Posting fall of 25, July 1st, 26. We wanted to be out of the gate early. There's always central office openings across the state and the North Shore, and we wanted to get out really early. So Steve has already sent this to his colleagues on his listserv. I've already sent it to every superintendent on the North Shore. Brian's already sent it out to the HR folks across the state as well. And so as we think about succession planning, that is a massive cog in the wheel of the Tri-Town School Union for sure. I'm not going to get his head into the office tomorrow that I said that out loud at a public meeting, that he is a massive cog in the wheel. But this is a big job, obviously, finance operations for the Tri-Town, all the work that's associated with that, the institutional knowledge that Steve has maintained and the relationships that he has developed with FinComs and select boards and town halls and everybody over 25 plus years. So we got a big job in front of us. As we look to fill this, we will continue to keep the committee updated throughout the entire year, but we're going to get out early, see if we can get someone onboarded early, have crossover events with Mr. Greenberg as well. And as Steve has said to me, you know, he'll be around. It's not like he's moving to Hawaii or anything, so the good news is if we need to pick his brain, we will be able to do that as well. So happy to take any questions on that, but that is a big task for us this year. Okay.
Yep.
Big shoes to fill.
Yes.
We'll have a cupcake or something at the end of the year.
Big shoes.
Celebrate 25 years. All right, and then Full Meadow Driveway, just information up on that. So for those of you that have been on the committee for a couple of years, you know that that has been sort of the ongoing challenge. We continue to move down Route 114 as we have tried to park parents who arrive for parent pickup in certain spots. And so we were at the golf course, and then we moved down to Angelica's. And I've had some conversations, and I appreciate Father Hennessy over at St. Agnes. St. Agnes. I know he's also at St. Rose in Topsfield, yeah. So I had a couple conversations with Father Hennessy, great guy, always willing to help in work that we're trying to do. We talked about potentially having cars queue there, but we are now really far away from Fuller Meadow. When you think about, we're now around the corner heading down, is that Boston Street?
Yeah.
Heading down Boston Street. His concern too, and I haven't had a final conversation with him, but his concern too was there are some days that there's CCD, and so it would be like, on Mondays go to Fuller Meadow, but on Tuesdays you go to St. Agnes, and on Wednesday it's like, it needs to be consistent for everybody. Had continued conversations with Justin, Town Administrator, Paul, Highway Department. At the end of the year, this committee might remember, we did it back on site. We said, don't go to Angelica's, come to the Fuller Meadow, and it wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad. There was a couple of cars out on 114 for a very short amount of time, and it seemed to be okay. And so the prevailing wisdom at the moment is that we are going to bring everything back to Fuller Meadow, monitor it, see how it goes. Mike is aware, on top of it, already thinking about communications out to families. We know the first 2 weeks of school are always messy, just because it's just everybody's getting back into the swing of things. So Steve and I typically spend the first couple of weeks of school out in front of different schools watching stuff. So like I'm usually parked over at, I don't think it's Yankee Fireplace anymore. I saw a new sign on it, but I usually park over there and just kind of watch what it looks like on 114, and Steve will do the same, and we do the same at other campuses as well. But we have to kind of get through September to see, but we will continue to stay in connection with our town partners. But the goal is to put everything back at Fuller Meadow for this coming school year, and see where it goes from there.
Any communication with Yankee? That place shut down. So any communication with
Just
them?
opened with a new,
It did?
yeah,
No.
there's a new sign there.
There is a new
Yeah.
sign?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So Angelica's is no longer an option.
no longer an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the pickup here, when my kids were here, you would park, go into the cafeteria, sign in, and
Yeah.
then the kids would be announced. Is it that's going to be the procedure, or is it going to be kind of like how drop off is, where you bring your car around and then be like, oh, so and so's mom is here, send the kids out?
Yep, I want to speak for Mike and his team.
It'll be the second of that too. So
second.
as the cars come in the driveway, they'll be announcing the students' names. People inside of the cafeteria in the gym will get those students lined up, and then cars will pull up to designated cones, and then
Okay.
the students will be escorted out to the cars.
Try to load like 5, 6 at a
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
and then
Okay.
move it
Okay.
along.
yeah.
Last year, I don't remember it, but how early were cars lining up at Angelica's? Because I remember
For
when they were
pickup?
at the golf course, it was sometimes
It was like 1 p.m.
yeah, yeah. So if parents show up at 1 p.m., are you going to allow them to just hang out in the parking lot?
They'll be in the driveway.
Yeah.
We'll try to discourage that
Okay.
as I see it happening.
Okay. All right.
The goal will be to get people here closer
Right.
to dismissal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
Jeff has sent communication about that in the past, like, please don't come
Right.
earlier than.
Yes, he has.
Than,
Yep.
you know,
It's a
this
constant
time.
battle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then just, it's not on the agenda, but it's related, hot manning driveway, appreciate Dave as a rep out to the community. As it relates to that, we continue to navigate just traffic at Hot Manning as well, and Dave's done some outreach to the neighborhood, and we're going to continue to work together to see if we can do some problem solving at Hot Manning as well. So Dave, thank you for that. I don't think we need a motion on John Guilfoyle. I think the feedback from the committee was helpful, for sure, unless I'm feeling differently, but I think we'll just leave that where it sits.
Okay, not right now, kind
Yep,
of thing.
yep, sit tight. Next meeting date, September 8th, and then, I don't know if anyone has any others, but that's all the updates from us.
I have no others.
Okay. Any others?
So now,
Bills and payroll.
As
those
listed?
are going around.
Yeah, they're going around, but bills and payroll as listed. So
Yep.
everyone should have a copy
Summary
of the
page from
sheet.
the drive.
And we need a motion.
Yes, please.
I will make a motion to accept the bills and payroll as presented.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. And that's it.
Does that need a motion to adjourn?
Okay, so I need a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any nays? Anyone want to hang out longer?